Gabriel Carrington had built an empire in commercial real estate by the time he was 35, but none of his millions could buy him what he needed most when pneumonia turned into something far worse, and his lungs began to fail him. He lay in the private hospital room, oxygen mask fogging with each labored breath, wondering if this was how it all ended alone except for his assistant who visited twice a week, and his lawyer who called to discuss business matters. Gabriel could barely focus on any more. The nurse who walked in that gray February morning changed everything, though he did not know it yet. Rebecca Walsh carried a quiet competence that filled the room before she even spoke. Her dark auburn hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her green eyes assessed him with a directness that made him feel seen in a way the parade of doctors never managed. "Mr. Carrington, I am Rebecca. I will be your primary care nurse for the day shift," she said, checking his vitals with practiced efficiency. Her hands were gentle but sure as she adjusted his Roman IV line. "Your oxygen saturation is still too low. We need to get you sitting up more, even if it feels difficult." Gabriel tried to wave her off, but the movement cost him. His chest tightened and he gasped behind the mask. "Easy," Rebecca said, her voice calm but firm. "Do not fight it. Let me help you." She pressed the button to raise the bed slowly, watching his face for signs of distress. "There, better." He nodded slightly, hating how weak he felt. Gabriel Carrington, who had negotiated billion-dollar deals and stared down corporate sharks without blinking, could not even sit up without assistance. "I know this is frustrating," Rebecca said, reading his expression with unsettling accuracy. "But pneumonia does not care about your schedule or your willpower. Your body needs time to heal." Over the next few days, Rebecca became a constant presence. She was there when his fever spiked at 3 in the morning, sponging him down with cool water and murmuring reassurances when he shivered uncontrollably. She was there when the respiratory therapist came to make him cough, an agonizing process that left him exhausted and angry, encouraging him through each session with a patience that never wavered. "You hate me right now," she said one afternoon after a particularly brutal breathing treatment. "Little bit," Gabriel managed, his voice rough. Rebecca smiled, and he noticed for the first time how it transformed her whole face. "Good means you still have fight in you. I would worry if you were too agreeable." "Not usually accused of that," he rasped. "I bet." She adjusted his blankets. "Your assistant mentioned you have not taken a real vacation in 8 years. Buildings do not construct themselves. And apparently neither do healthy lungs." She fixed him with that direct gaze again. "When you get out of here, you need to make changes. This did not happen because you were unlucky. Your body was exhausted." No one talked to Gabriel like that. His employees certainly did not. His business associates would not dare. But Rebecca spoke to him like he was just another person, no different from anyone else in her care, and something about that cut through his defenses. "You always this blunt with patience?" he asked. "Only the stubborn ones who need it." She checked his chart. "Which, in my experience, is most of them." The days blurred together. Gabriel's fever finally broke after a week, but his recovery was slow and frustrating. Every small task, eating, showering, walking to the bathroom, required monumental effort. His business continued without him, which was somehow both reassuring and deeply unsettling. He had built an empire that did not need him at the helm every moment. What did that say about his life? Rebecca was there through all of it, never rushing him, never showing impatience with his slow progress. She talked to him while she worked, sharing small pieces of her life in a way that made the sterile hospital room feel almost normal. "I have a younger brother in graduate school," she told him one morning while helping him eat breakfast. His hands still shook too much to hold the spoon steady. "He is studying environmental science, wants to save the world." "Noble goal," Gabriel said. "He gets it from our mom. She was a teacher before she retired, always told us we should do something that matters." Rebecca paused, then added quietly, "She passed away 2 years ago, cancer." "I am sorry," Gabriel said, and meant it. "Me too." Rebecca set down the empty bowl. But she taught me a lot about taking care of people, about being present for them when things are hard. Is that why you became a nurse? Partially. I also like the puzzle of it, figuring out what people need, not just medically but emotionally. You can give someone all the right medications, but if their spirit is broken, they will not heal the same way. She met his eyes. You have been alone through this whole thing. Where is your family? The question landed like a physical blow. Parents died when I was 22, car accident. No siblings, never married. No one special. Gabriel thought of the string of relationships that had fizzled out over the years, women who eventually grew tired of coming second to his work. Not for a long time. Something shifted in Rebecca's expression, a softening he did not quite understand. Well, you are not alone now. You are stuck with me until you get discharged. Could be worse, Gabriel said, and was surprised to find he meant it. As February turned into March, Gabriel grew stronger. He graduated from the oxygen mask to a nasal cannula, then finally breathed room air without assistance. Rebecca celebrated each milestone with genuine joy, and Gabriel found himself working harder partly just to see that smile. 10 laps around the floor today, she announced one morning, helping him into a robe. That is twice what you did 3 days ago, trying to get rid of me. Gabriel asked, though the idea of leaving the hospital, leaving her, had started to cause an unexpected tightness in his chest that had nothing to do with his lungs. Trying to get you healthy, Rebecca corrected. That is literally my job. They walked the halls together, Rebecca matching his slow pace without complaint. Other nurses greeted her warmly, and Gabriel noticed how she knew something personal about each of them, asking about a sick child, congratulating someone on a new apartment. She moved through the world paying attention to people in a way he had forgotten was possible. You are good at this, he said as they completed lap number 7. At walking, Rebecca teased, at caring, at making people feel like they matter. She glanced at him, something flickering across her face too quickly for him to read. Everyone matters. Some people just forget that when they get too caught up in other things. It was another gentle rebuke, but Gabriel found he did not mind. Rebecca's honesty was refreshing after years of people telling him only what they thought he wanted to hear. That night, lying in the dark and breathing easily for the first time in weeks, Gabriel admitted something to himself that should have been obvious days ago. He was falling for his nurse. It was wildly inappropriate and completely impossible, and yet undeniably true. Rebecca had seen him at his weakest, most vulnerable, most human, and she had not looked away. She had stepped closer, but what could he possibly offer her? He was a workaholic millionaire who had just been forcibly reminded of his own mortality. She was a woman who had built a life around caring for others, who seemed content with her modest existence. They existed in completely different worlds. Gabriel was still wrestling with these thoughts when Rebecca arrived the next morning with his breakfast tray and news that stopped his heart. Doctor is talking about discharging you in a few days, she said, her tone carefully neutral. Your lungs are clear, oxygen levels are good, and you are mobile. You will need to take it easy for a while, but you can recover at home. Home. His massive, empty penthouse that he had barely spent time in over the years. The idea of returning there, of not seeing Rebecca every day, felt unbearable. That is good news, he said, because what else could he say? It is. Rebecca busied herself with his vitals, not quite meeting his eyes. You have been a model patient, well, eventually, had a good nurse. The words hung between them, weighted with everything Gabriel did not know how to express. Rebecca finally looked at him, and he saw his own confusion and longing reflected back. Gabriel, she started, then stopped. In all their weeks together, she had never used his first name. I should not, this is not professional of me, but I am going to miss you, his heart hammered. I will miss you too. You should not say things like that to me, Rebecca said softly. Why not? Because I already care too much, and you are my patient, and there are rules about this sort of thing. The words tumbled out quickly, like she had been holding them back for a long time. And because in a few days you will go back to your life, and I will just be the nurse who took care of you when you were sick, and that is how it should be. What if I do not want it to be that way? Gabriel sat up straighter, ignoring the protest from his still healing body. What if I want to see you after I leave, really see you not as my nurse but as what? Rebecca interrupted, her eyes bright. We do not even know each other outside these walls. Then let me take you to dinner, coffee, anything, let me get to know you. You are Gabriel Carrington. I looked you up after your first week here because I wanted to understand what drove you so hard you nearly killed yourself. You are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You own half the buildings in the city. And I am a nurse who shares a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate. So. Gabriel reached for her hand before he could second-guess himself. So what? You think I care about any of that? I think you are vulnerable right now, Rebecca said gently, but she did not pull her hand away. I think you have been alone and scared, and I was here, and it would be easy to confuse gratitude with something else. This is not gratitude. Gabriel squeezed her hand. Rebecca, I have never met anyone like you. You see people really see them. You saw me when I was at my absolute worst, and you did not flinch. You made me want to get better, not just physically but as a person. I do not know what this is between us, but I know it is real. Tell me you do not feel it too. Rebecca bit her lip, and a single tear tracked down her cheek. I do feel it. I have been fighting it for weeks because I should not. You are my patient, not for much longer. That does not make it appropriate. Maybe not, Gabriel admitted, but when was the last time you did something just because you wanted to, propriety be damned? That surprised a watery laugh out of her. Not very often. Me neither. Maybe we are both overdue. He held her gaze. One dinner. After I am officially discharged and you are no longer my nurse, just 2 people getting to know each other. What is the worst that could happen? I could fall in love with you, Rebecca whispered, Gabriel's breath caught. Would that be so terrible? She shook her head slowly. No, that is what scares me. They sat in charged silence, hands clasped, both terrified and exhilarated by what they had just admitted. Finally, Rebecca pulled back gently. I need to finish my rounds, she said, but Gabriel, ask me again when you are discharged. That is a promise. The next 3 days were the longest of Gabriel's life. His doctor cleared him for release, and his assistant arranged for a home care nurse to check on him twice a day for the first week. Gabriel barely heard the discharge instructions. All he could think about was Rebecca and whether she would really say yes. On his last day, she appeared in his room in civilian clothes, jeans, and a soft blue sweater that matched her eyes because her shift had ended an hour earlier. She had come back just to see him off. So, Gabriel said, heart in his throat. About that dinner. Rebecca smiled, and it was like the sun coming out. I am off this Saturday. Saturday is perfect. He could not stop grinning like an idiot. Can I pick you up? 7 o'clock, I will meet you, she said. Baby steps. Baby steps, Gabriel agreed. She handed him a piece of paper with her number. Text me the address, nowhere too fancy. I do not own anything that would fit in at the places you probably go. We will go wherever you want. Rebecca kissed his cheek quickly, a touch so brief it might have been imagined. Get some rest. Actually rest, I will know if you do not, Gabriel laughed. How? I have my ways. She headed for the door, then paused. I am glad you are okay, really glad. Then she was gone, and Gabriel was left holding a slip of paper with 10 digits that felt more valuable than any contract he had ever signed. The week passed in a strange limbo. Gabriel returned to his penthouse and saw it with fresh eyes. Everything was expensive, pristine, and utterly impersonal. He had been living in a showroom, not a home. His assistant was thrilled he was back, immediately trying to schedule meetings and conference calls. Gabriel put her off, something he never would have done before. I am still recovering, he said, which was true but not the whole truth. The whole truth was that he did not want to slip back into old patterns. Rebecca had been right. He had driven himself to collapse, and for what? More money he did not need. More buildings with his name on them. Saturday arrived with agonizing slowness. Gabriel changed clothes 3 times before settling on dark jeans and a navy sweater. Casual for him, but hopefully not too much. He had chosen a small Italian restaurant in Rebecca's neighborhood, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. Somewhere they could talk without pretense. She was already there when he arrived, standing outside the restaurant and looking nervous. She wore a simple green dress that brought out the color of her eyes, her hair loose around her shoulders. Gabriel had only ever seen it pulled back for work. It fell in soft waves that he wanted to touch. "Hi," he said, suddenly as nervous as a teenager on a first date. "Hi." Rebecca smiled shyly. "You found it okay? GPS is a wonderful thing." He gestured to the door. "Shall we?" Dinner was both comfortable and charged with awareness. They talked about everything and nothing, her childhood in a small town upstate, his memories of building his first property deal with money scraped together from 3 jobs. She told him about nursing school and the first patient who died on her watch, how it had nearly broken her. He told her about losing his parents and throwing himself into work so he would not have to feel the grief. "We are both pretty good at running from things," Rebecca observed, twirling pasta on her fork. "Apparently running from things lands you in the hospital," Gabriel said dryly. "Or in nursing school at midnight, surviving on coffee and refusing to admit you are in over your head." She took a sip of wine. "I think we might both be stubborn." "Might be," she laughed, and the sound did something to Gabriel's chest. "Okay, definitely are." After dinner, they walked aimlessly through the neighborhood. March had given way to early April, and the evening was mild enough that Rebecca did not need the jacket she had brought. They talked about books, movies, places they wanted to travel. Gabriel learned that Rebecca had never left the country, something he could barely fathom given how much he had traveled for business. "Never had the time or money," she said with a shrug. "Student loans are brutal, and nurses do not exactly make millions. Where would you go?" "If you could go anywhere," Rebecca considered. "Ireland, maybe. My grandmother was Irish and she used to tell these amazing stories about growing up there, or Greece. The islands look beautiful in pictures." "They are," Gabriel said, then caught himself. "Not that I spent much time looking. Usually flew in for meetings and flew right back out." "That sounds exhausting." It was. He stopped walking and turned to face her. "I am not going back to that. I do not know exactly what I am going back to, but not that." "What do you want?" Rebecca asked. The question was simple but fundamental. Gabriel realized he had not asked himself that in years. "I want to matter to someone. I want to build something that is about more than profit margins. I want—" He stopped, the next words too big and too soon. "What?" Rebecca prompted gently. "I want this," he said instead. "Whatever this is between us, I want to see where it goes." Rebecca stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her shampoo, something floral and clean. "I want that too, but Gabriel, you need to know I do not care about your money. I did not look you up to find a meal ticket. I do not want that life." "I know." He cupped her face gently. "You are the first person I have met in years who sees me, not my bank account. Do you know how rare that is? Maybe you have been looking in the wrong places. Maybe I have." Gabriel leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. She did not. Their lips met softly, tentatively, a question and an answer all at once. Rebecca's hands came up to rest on his chest, and he felt her smile against his mouth. When they finally pulled apart, Gabriel was breathing hard, and it had nothing to do with his lungs. "Wow," Rebecca whispered. "Yeah." He rested his forehead against hers. "That was worth waiting for," she finished. They spent the rest of the evening walking and talking and stealing kisses on quiet street corners. Gabriel could not remember the last time he had felt this light, this present in a moment. When he finally walked Rebecca to her apartment building, the goodbye was long and sweet and full of promise. "When can I see you again?" he asked, still holding her hand. "I work the next 3 days, 12-hour shifts. What about after? I could bring you dinner, nothing fancy, just I would like that." Rebecca squeezed his hand. "Text me, constantly," Gabriel promised. He did. Over the next few weeks, They fell into a pattern of texts throughout the day and seeing each other whenever Rebecca's schedule allowed. Gabriel discovered that dating a nurse required flexibility. She worked nights sometimes, had to cover shifts at the last minute, and came home exhausted. But she never complained, and he never minded adjusting his own schedule. "You are being weird," his assistant Jennifer finally said one afternoon. "You have been weird since you got back from the hospital. Did something happen?" Gabriel looked up from his phone where he had been texting Rebecca about dinner plans. "What do you mean? You are turning down meetings. You have not gone to the office in a week. You smile at your phone. It is unsettling." Jennifer narrowed her eyes. "Oh my God, you met someone, maybe." "Who is she? How did you meet? When do I get to vet her and make sure she is not after your money?" Gabriel laughed. "She is not after my money, trust me. That is what they all say. Jen, I met her when she was my nurse in the hospital. She already saw me at my worst and decided to give me a chance anyway. I think that is a good sign." Jennifer's expression softened. "A nurse? Really? Her name is Rebecca. She is smart and kind and calls me out when I am being an idiot, which is apparently often." "I like her already," Jennifer said. "When do I meet her?" "Not yet." Gabriel was protective of what he and Rebecca were building. It felt fragile still, too new to expose to outside scrutiny. But soon, maybe. That weekend, Gabriel invited Rebecca to his penthouse for the first time. He saw her eyes widen as she walked through the door, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows with views of the city, the modern furniture, the art on the walls. "This is where you live?" she asked, almost accusatory. "Unfortunately, yes." "What do you mean, unfortunately? This place is incredible." "It is empty," Gabriel corrected. "It is a very expensive, very large, empty box. I never made it a home." Rebecca walked to the windows, looking out at the glittering cityscape. "You could, though, make it a home. Would you help me?" The question came out before Gabriel could stop it, too intimate for how long they had been dating. But Rebecca just turned and smiled. "I think I could do that." They cooked dinner together, or rather, Rebecca cooked while Gabriel assisted badly and made her laugh. She moved through his sterile kitchen like she belonged there, and Gabriel felt something settle in his chest. This was what he had been missing. Not just a person, but someone who made the empty spaces feel full. After dinner, they sat on the couch together, Rebecca tucked against his side. "Tell me about your brother," Gabriel said. "The one saving the world. Ryan. He is 24, ridiculously idealistic, and I adore him." Rebecca's voice was warm with affection. "He is doing his thesis on sustainable development in urban areas. Very passionate about green spaces and community gardens. Sounds impressive." "He is. After our mom died, I thought about giving up nursing school to take care of him, but she made me promise I would not. Made me swear I would finish, that we would both finish what we started." Rebecca was quiet for a moment. "It was the hardest thing I ever did, keeping that promise, but Ryan was almost done with undergrad and we figured it out." "You raised him," Gabriel realized. Co-raised. "He is not that much younger than me." "But yeah, I guess I stepped into more of a parental role those last couple years." She looked up at Gabriel. "He would like you, you think?" "I know, you are not what I expected, Gabriel Carrington." "What did you expect? Someone more?" Rebecca waved her hand vaguely. "Arrogant. Disconnected. You have a reputation, you know, the ruthless real estate mogul who never takes prisoners." Gabriel winced. "That bad. That dramatic. But the man I know is thoughtful and funny and trying really hard to figure out what kind of life he wants to live." She kissed his jaw. "I like that man a lot." "I like you a lot too," Gabriel said. "More than a lot, actually. Me too." Rebecca settled back against him. "This is nice." "It is." Gabriel pressed a kiss to the top of her head, breathing in the scent of her hair. "Stay tonight, I mean. I am not. I just want you here. Want to fall asleep with you and wake up with you." Rebecca tilted her head back to meet his eyes. "Okay." That night, lying in bed with Rebecca curled against him, Gabriel felt something he had not experienced in years. Peace. Complete and utter peace. She fit perfectly in his arms, her breathing evening out as she fell asleep. He stayed awake longer, just holding her, marveling at how much his life had changed in just a few months. He had gone into that hospital alone and certain of his path. He had come out uncertain about everything except the woman sleeping in his arms. As spring turned into summer, Gabriel and Rebecca settled into something that felt astonishingly like a real relationship. They had their first fight when Gabriel tried to pay off Rebecca's student loans. She refused to speak to him for 2 days, until he apologized for overstepping. They had their first vacation together, a long weekend at a bed and breakfast upstate where they hiked and made love and talked about the future in hypothetical terms that were becoming less hypothetical by the day. Gabriel met Ryan in June, and the kid was exactly as Rebecca had described: idealistic, passionate, and sharp as hell. They had dinner at a casual restaurant, and Ryan grilled Gabriel about his intentions toward his sister with an earnestness that was almost charming. "I care about her," Gabriel said honestly. "I am in love with her, actually, and I know I come with a lot of baggage and complications, but I want to be with her, for as long as she will have me." Ryan studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. She deserves someone who sees how amazing she is." "I do see it," Gabriel said. "Every day," Rebecca kicked him under the table. "You two are being ridiculous." "He started it," Ryan said, pointing at Gabriel. "Did not," Gabriel replied automatically, then caught himself. "Am I 5?" "Yes," both Rebecca and Ryan said in unison, then laughed. It was such a small moment, so ordinary, but Gabriel felt emotion clog his throat. This was what he had been missing. Not just Rebecca, though she was the center of it, but this sense of belonging, of family. That night, back at his place, which Rebecca had slowly helped him turn into an actual home, complete with photos and comfortable furniture and kitchen tools that got regular use, Gabriel made a decision. "Move in with me," he said. Rebecca looked up from where she was curled up on the couch with a medical journal. "What? Move in with me? You spend half your time here anyway, and your lease is up next month. Move in with me." "Gabriel, she stopped, clearly torn. "That is a big step, I know. But I do not want to do the back and forth anymore. I want you here all the time. I want this to be our home, not just mine." He sat beside her, taking her hands. "I love you. I know we have not said it enough, or maybe I have not said it right, but I am completely in love with you. You changed my whole life. You made me want to be better, do better. And I want to wake up with you every morning and come home to you every night, so move in with me, please." Rebecca's eyes were bright with tears. "I love you too, so much, and yes, okay, yes." Gabriel kissed her deeply, pouring everything he felt into it. When they broke apart, Rebecca was laughing and crying at the same time. "My roommate is going to be so happy," she said. "Her boyfriend has been wanting to move in for months. See, it is practically a public service." "You are ridiculous. You love me anyway." "I really do," Rebecca said softly. "Even when you try to solve everything with money, and even when you work too hard, and even when you burn dinner 3 times in a row." "That happened once, 3 times, Rebecca corrected. "But yes, even then." Moving in together was chaotic and wonderful. Rebecca did not have much furniture that went into storage, boxes of books and clothes and kitchen gadgets, but somehow combining their lives felt monumental. Gabriel found himself making space not just in his closet but in his life. He started leaving work at reasonable hours, delegating more to his capable team. He had breakfast with Rebecca on the mornings she was not working nights. He learned to cook more than 3 dishes without setting off the smoke alarm. "You are becoming domestic," Jennifer observed one afternoon, sounding amused. "It is deeply weird." "I am happy," Gabriel corrected. "Is that so strange?" "For you, kind of," but Jennifer was smiling. "I like Rebecca, by the way. She is good for you." "She is the best thing that ever happened to me." "Careful, boss. You are getting sappy in your old age." Gabriel just grinned. He did not care. For the first time in his adult life, he was prioritizing something other than work, and it felt incredible. That summer was golden. Gabriel and Rebecca fell into rhythms and routines. Sunday mornings meant farmers' markets and cooking together. Evenings, when she worked, meant he made sure dinner was waiting when she got home, something she could reheat. Her days off meant adventures exploring the city, taking weekend trips, staying in bed until noon just because they could. In August, Gabriel surprised Rebecca with plane tickets to Ireland. 2 weeks, he said, handing her the envelope. I already cleared it with your supervisor. We leave September 5th. Rebecca stared at the tickets, then at him. You did not. I did. You said you wanted to see Ireland. Let us go see Ireland. Gabriel, she stopped, tears streaming down her face. This is too much. It is not enough, he countered. You gave me my life back, Rebecca. You made me want to live again, not just exist. Let me give you this. She threw her arms around him, holding tight. Thank you, thank you. Ireland was magical. They drove through the countryside, stayed in small villages, visited the town where Rebecca's grandmother had grown up. They kissed on the cliffs of Moher and drank Guinness in crowded pubs and made love in a centuries-old castle converted to a hotel. Gabriel watched Rebecca light up with joy and felt his own heart expand to accommodate more happiness than he had ever thought possible. On their last night, sitting on the balcony of their hotel room in Dublin, Gabriel pulled out the small velvet box he had been carrying for the entire trip. Marry me, he said, opening it to reveal a simple solitaire diamond. I know we have not been together that long, and I know I am not perfect, but I am better with you. I want to build a life with you. I want to grow old with you. I want everything with you. So marry me, Rebecca Walsh. Make me the luckiest man alive. Rebecca was crying again, but she was also laughing. Yes, yes, of course, yes. Gabriel slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands. It fit perfectly because of course it did. Everything with Rebecca fit perfectly. I love you, he said. I love you too. She kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. You know my brother is going to be insufferable about this. Worth it, Gabriel said. They were married the following spring in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Ryan walked Rebecca down the aisle, beaming with pride. Jennifer cried, which she later denied. Gabriel could barely speak his vows through the emotion lodged in his throat, but he managed to promise to love, honor, and cherish the woman who had saved his life in more ways than one. Rebecca was radiant in a simple white dress, and when she promised to be his partner in all things, Gabriel believed her completely. The reception was at a garden venue, intimate and perfect. They danced under string lights and cut a cake that actually tasted good and laughed at the toasts that ranged from heartfelt to ridiculous. You did good, Ryan told Gabriel during a quiet moment. I was not sure about you at first, too rich, too serious, but you make my sister happy. That is all that matters. She makes me happy too, Gabriel said. Happier than I knew was possible. 2 years later, Gabriel stood in the nursery of their new house, a sprawling, warm place in the suburbs with a yard and good schools nearby, watching Rebecca rock their infant daughter. Grace Catherine Carrington had arrived 3 weeks earlier, and Gabriel was still in awe of her tiny perfection. She is asleep, Rebecca whispered. Help me put her down. Together, they transferred the baby to her crib, holding their breath until she settled. In the hallway, Gabriel pulled Rebecca close. You are amazing, he said. You know that? You are not so bad yourself. She smiled up at him, the same smile that had captured his heart in a hospital room years ago, although you could work on your diaper-changing speed. I am improving, Gabriel protested, slowly. Hey, I built a real estate empire, but apparently I cannot fasten a diaper. Humbling. Rebecca laughed softly. Come on, Grace will be up in 3 hours to eat. We should sleep while we can. In bed, Rebecca curled against him the way she always did. Gabriel held her, breathing in the scent of her hair, marveling at the path that had brought them here. Do you ever think about that first day, he asked, when you walked into my hospital room? Sometimes, Rebecca admitted. I thought you were going to be a nightmare patient, rich, arrogant, probably demanding. I was demanding. You were scared, she corrected, and alone, and trying so hard not to show it. She pressed a kiss to his chest. I am glad I got to take care of you. I am glad you did not give up on me, Gabriel said, even when I was being difficult, especially then. Rebecca yawned. I love you, even when you are terrible at diapers. "I love you too," Gabriel said, "more than I have words for." As Rebecca drifted off to sleep, Gabriel lay awake a while longer, listening to his wife breathe and his daughter's soft sounds from the nursery. He thought about the man he had been before, driven, successful, and utterly empty. That version of Gabriel had thought he had everything figured out. He had been so wrong. Real wealth was not in buildings or bank accounts. It was in quiet moments like this, holding the woman he loved while their child slept nearby. It was in Sunday mornings and family dinners and someone who saw you at your worst and loved you anyway. Rebecca had saved his life in that hospital room, but more than that, she had given him a reason to live it. She had shown him what mattered, what was real. And every day since, Gabriel had tried to be worthy of that gift. As he finally fell asleep, Gabriel's last thought was gratitude for illness that had forced him to slow down, for a nurse who had refused to let him give up, and for the love story he never expected but would never take for granted. His heart, once guarded and untouched, had been healed by Rebecca's care, her patience, her unwavering faith in who he could become. And in healing, he had discovered how to truly live.